So I'm sure this team has been giving people some issues, right? The Fia, Valerian, Kethos +1. Usually it's Ray Mary, but I've seen some others. And from what I've seen so far, there kind of isn't any way to reliably cleave this team. If there's no bulwarks or alicorns, you can do like a Navette Santic opener into cleave, and that does work, but only if you land the Petrify or cooldown on Fia, and you land the cooldown on Kethos, which is it's not the most consistent. I haven't found a way to really cleave this team. However, I have found a way to very consistently beat the team, so I figured I'd share that in this video. But real quick, if this video is helpful to you, I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. And with that said, let's get into it. Alright, it's this team right here. Alright, so show off the builds real quick. Alright, we just got our regular old RTA, just full speed turn dot. Doesn't really matter how fast she is, probably just like anything above, honestly, probably anything above like 330 is likely fast enough, but you know, the faster the better. And then low on, my build is pretty scuffed, right? My I've kind of used all my better pieces on other characters, so my low on is kind of low tier, right? Like with this little crit rate, you'd expect like 320 speed or more. So I think this build should be pretty easily achievable, right? You know, 545 E0. Lee, this build is a little bit better. 555, I think she's definitely worth it, and you need her fast enough that she will bridge with your turn dot. So at 360, 30% push will get your 270 speed, thereabout units all the way to the front. If your turn dot is slower, your Lee doesn't need to be as fast. If she's faster, your Lee will need to be faster. Once again, my crit rate is too low. I don't have a Fury Edge Doomcrow yet, so once I get that, though, I'll have a 100 crit rate. And then last but certainly not least is Valerian. I don't think her build really matters much at all for this team. It's as much HP as you can get. The speed doesn't matter. Some effect accuracy can be nice, so that her skill 1 lands the slumber, but for the most part, the stats don't really matter. You just want a big shield. So, you know, Wellspring, Cure, Evil Guard, they all give you more shield. I mean, Wellspring doesn't, but it gives you more health, which makes your shield bigger, and then these two increase your shielding. So, right, but for the most part, like pretty much anything is fine. Just make her super super high health if you can. I like Moon Bunny so that the Kethos, the S2, will not reset her like later on in the fight. And so basically what you do is you start the fight, you boost your team, you target the Fia first. Ideally, you land the taunt there, but we missed it this time. We take a big chunk of damage, but it should be fine. And then with the Exaltation giving you minus 60% shielding, as well as the ridiculous single target damage from these two combined, she goes down pretty fast. I always save the S2 for later. There's no reason to put it on Fia because she's going to jump to the front anyway from her passive. Right, and just focus her down first. Right, minus 60% healing as well, so when her passive goes off, she doesn't heal for a whole lot. And then just like that, she's down. Right, your team takes no damage from Ray Mary because you have your own Valerian. Right, because Kethos stole her turn earlier, we got 2 full Valerian turns where our bubble was up. And then you focus down the Kethos. And as soon as Kethos is down, you just put it on auto, target the Ray Mary, and you can walk away for the rest of the fight. So basically the only way this team loses is I've lost in 2 different ways. One is that the Kethos S3 goes on your squishiest unit, and he lands the defense break, and then it's a P5 Raymary, and he's able to kill like right away. That's one way to lose. And then the other, okay, I guess technically there's three. I did fight a Kethos that was on Time Weave that did S3, S2, S3, S2, S3, S2. Just like back to back to back to back Time Weave procs. And he basically was able to just tear my team apart on his own. It was kind of nasty, right? But other than that, if it is the Emilia Sanya variation of the team, and the Sanya is able to consistently cleanse the Fia and get rid of the taunt before she takes her turn, and then she's able to hit you with a couple of these S3s that just reduce your health, then the Raymary S1 can execute through Valerian's bubble, and you are in big trouble. That's another way to lose. But for the most part, as long as this defense down doesn't go on your turn dot, you're gonna be fine. Right, and just use your turn dot S2 appropriately to push back any important targets. Stripping buffs is always nice. And I think on against a team with Lee, I'm pretty sure you want to focus down the Lee before Kethos. And then you put it on auto. You're able to walk away and let the game play itself for the rest of the attack. So it's not going to be nearly as fast as any of these cleave teams, unfortunately, but the win rate is incredibly high, and half of the fight you can AFK, so it's not too bad. No, if you want a super consistent team to fight against this, any variation of the Kethos, Fia, Valerian +1, right? It also works against the team with Sanya instead of Valerian. Just a little bit riskier, because if the Sanya cleanses the Fia enough, if it's a really tanky Fia that gets a ton of turns, she can get you low enough that the Raymary is able to execute somebody, which is not good. But against this team, it's pretty much always a win as long as you don't get super unlucky. Right? So like this is one of those super unlucky games. Right, and then Kethos lands on the turn dot. And then immediately Valerian goes down, and then he skips Valerian, and then turn dot goes down, and then you just don't have, and then I also got stunned, and then you just don't have enough tempo to actually get through the Fia, because it's a big chunk of your cycling gone. Very consistent. If you have the characters built, I would recommend trying it out. Honestly, you probably could auto the whole fight. The only reason I don't is because if you miss a taunt, you definitely don't want to hit your S2 here. Right, if you land the taunt, S2 is fine. If you miss the taunt, you have to S1 again. And then the second target is also still important, so after Fia goes down, you still have to switch your targeting anyway, and then depending on the matchup, you want to use this S2 on somebody else. And we switch targets, and then you can probably just AFK from here. But yeah, so that's the team. Nothing much to it. Mostly AFK. So what it lacks in speed, it makes up for in you know, how much time you actually have to spend manually playing the fight. So that's all I got for you today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you next time.